This is the Build Zone Podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Podcast listeners, we are in for a treat this week because we have with us, normally we have one person on, but this week we got two people on. We got Jen Luoni, who is the Director of Operations for the Architecture Group at Dacon Corporation, and Renny Schofield, Director of Construction Operations at Dacon. And the reason we got them on today is we really want to talk about their award-winning project, 111 Speen Street over in Framingham. They did a facade renovation, and it was, I guess, and we're going to talk about it, but some people either loved or hated the building in Framingham, and I'm sure we're going to talk a bit about why they hated it and why maybe they loved it. And then we want to talk about the strength of Dacon in the design build world. So welcome, Jen and Renny. We'll let Jenny go first. Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk to Renny.
All right. So I'm Jen Luoni. I have been with Dacon now for 24 years. I went to Wentworth Institute of Technology with my architectural degree, and I came out of school and I actually somehow fell into Dacon and design build. And I have loved design build so much that I have not been able to leave for this many years. I am the biggest design build advocate in the world. After being here for 24 years and completing projects turnkey with the contractor, I just don't know of a better way. For about 12 years, I did many of them projects as project architect here. And then I did some planning where I planned the projects. And then eventually I moved on to now run the group. So it's been very exciting. And I still love my job every day.
24 years. What did you start with? You were 12? What are you?
Come on.
That's crazy.
Come on.
I mean, there's no way.
Come on.
2 years, maybe. 24 years. That doesn't make any sense. We had to check some paperwork.
You had to check some facts? Okay. Yeah. All right.
And then we got Renny, and then, we're excited because we've stalked poor Renny to come on the podcast, and we were able to talk him to come on. So Renny, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Dacon.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you. I've been with Dacon now for 6 years. My role is the Director of Construction Operations. So what that means is that I get involved with pretty much all aspects of the construction process as the project navigates through pre-construction and then transitions into the construction phase. I'm there along the way, working with the team and helping to navigate the process. I also work with Jen's team on constructability and detailing of the project as it's working through the design development phase. I've been in the industry for about 26 years. I don't think you'll debate that. I look at construction's not an easy business. Been a construction guy all my life. My dad was a GC. I fell into the family industry, and here I am today.
So, I mean, you guys got 30, 50 years of experience between the 2 years. That's pretty well. That's pretty crazy.
Good.
So the one thing that we really want to talk about was that this one project you guys won a merit award for at the Excellent Construction Awards. It was at 111 Speen Street. Renny, tell us a little bit about that project and, some of the challenge you guys faced, and then we'll talk a bit about some of the process.
Sure. So the building is an iconic one on Speen Street in Framingham. It had I believe it's called a brutalist design. Is that correct, Jen? Does that ring a bell?
I don't know about brutalist, but it was a famous architect, Robert A.M. Stern.
Right. So the design was very trendy in the, I believe in the 60s when it was originally constructed.
Yes.
And it did not age well in terms of the design. The building had a history of having a challenge with leasing up. It had struggled with low lease rates, turned hands a couple times, and finally one of our longtime clients purchased it recently and came to us with a request to bring it into the 21st century to enhance the amenities and just make it a building that people wanted to work within.
Yeah.
And Jen, same question to you. What was the project like? Where does it fall into your hands, I guess, to do your thing?
I guess it falls into our hands probably from day one. And I think that being design builders, this was like a, ideal job for us because, it had some unique details and it had the history. So it didn't fall within the historical district, but there was a lot of sensitivities to updating this building by this architect, this well-known architect, and you can find a lot on him if you look it up. So a lot of people became very sensitive. So like, what are you going to do to the building? How are you going to change it? So that was very interesting. But also too, you know, like Renny said, they wanted to be able to rent this building and have leasing increase, but there's like a balance between how much you spend to upgrade a building to then still make it profitable when you're leasing. So that was one of the main reasons that Paradigm had come to us, because we worked with them for years on feasibility. And due to this like type of building with being all glass and a curtain wall system, we actually did a lot of preliminary research to understand what the capabilities of the system are, what we could change it, so we could design so to like a budget rather than just say, here's the most glorious option we give you, and then come back and it'd be, $20 million, and then it doesn't make any sense financially. So we worked hand in hand with Paradigm and North Colony really to go back and forth to kind of understand what made their pro forma work, but also what we could do with the existing system. And we brought envelope consultants, structural engineers on board, just a lot of like upfront work to come up with the design very quickly that met the right budget that satisfied everybody, even the town.
And I know we want to talk about this, but I know Dacon's very proud of their design builds, and their process for this. At any point in that design build, like you said, you build it towards the budget, but and you don't want to tear the whole thing down and start over again, right? You still want to have some of that, aesthetic of the building.
Yep.
Renny, where do you think, some of the strengths, Dacon strengths come into play for the design build process?
Really, it's the due diligence up front that we spend a lot of time on. And I would say this building in particular, couldn't get enough due diligence. Even as we were, we did a fair amount up front, and even as we were disassembling the facade during the course of the work, we were still encountering conditions that you would never see on a traditional building with typical construction details. So we do spend a tremendous amount of time understanding the client's desires, and translating that into their program, and then building around that program to really streamlining the design and the scope of work to give them what they need in the most functional manner possible with their aesthetic in mind. So they have a facility that is, high performing facility that they can work within and meets their business needs for decades to come. That's, in a nutshell, that's what Dacon does best. We work with the client hand in hand and make sure that what they want is what they get at the end of the day. And we also take a lot of responsibility for the performance of the building, to make sure it meets our obligations, post construction, and we hold our subcontractors accountable to those standards as well.
Was there something in the project that maybe that the client wanted, but you couldn't quite get in there?
No, I think what the client wanted that we did get in there was to upgrade all the landscaping outside to make a better area for outdoor activities. This building is really close to the Contituate Rail Trail, which they've just upgraded and spent the money for the bridge and all that over there. So they really wanted to promote outdoor areas that were a lot more usable than what was before. But obviously, landscaping can tend to be a lot of money. So we had to really understand up front what the facade turnover was going to be and how could we do that the most economically. And then when we were able to come up with a design that utilized the existing system by all of our due diligence, then they were able to add things into the project as far as adding a better gym, a cafeteria. So they were able to then take the money that they had thought that they were going to have to spend to just make this building right and put it in other areas. And I think with design build, the best thing is that we were able to qualify for this for them like really early on, even before we went down the road of a full set of drawings. So then they could make their investment, make the deal. And then all said and done at the end of the project, even with some of the things Renny was talking about, I think we ended up giving them back, Renny, what was it, like $70,000 or $80,000?
I believe it was $180,000.
Oh, 180. Okay. Yeah.
Ultimately not used from the original GMP budget.
Yep.
And
Jen, what was your favorite part of the project? I know you talked about, making the landscape look great and bringing that, but what was your favorite part of the whole entire process?
Oh, I think is seeing what we could do with that existing curtain wall system. I mean, because, I think initially some of the ideas that came out of some other architects were just rip the whole thing down and reclad the whole building,
Right.
and that's just not financially, feasible. So when we explored the curtain wall and what it could do, and then we kind of picked modern ways to update it. So the building looks completely different, but we used the shell that we had. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. And I think just because the building wasn't brand new and all new materials, like new design, doesn't mean that we can't provide value and have good architecture.
Renny, same question for you. What was your favorite part of the project?
I would say my favorite part of the project is similar to the answer that I give about the things I love about construction in general. It's that finished project, the tangible thing in front of you that you just spent so much time on. And in this case, it was, even better because we transformed a building that was really struggling aesthetically and brought it into the 21st century. The building looks great. The landscaping is growing in. It is a really eye-catching building as you're in that busy hub of Framingham.
And when the project's all said and done, and you maybe talk to some of the neighbors in that area, Jen, what do they say about the building now that it's went from that 60s vibe look, like a brutalist kind of thing, to being more updated, more modern? What do they say?
Actually, people are very happy. I know that we were just at an event the other night, and when we were presenting on Speen Street for another thing, people in the area were like, thank God that you updated that building. And I think that has a lot of exposure off the Mass Pike. It's right when you come off the Pike and you drive by it. And I think it's been a building that's looked dated for so long that whether it annoyed people or not, I don't think they actually realized it was like oh, that's fixed. It's like so much better. I think that, and I also think the connection to the rail trail and just kind of the outdoor areas. I think they had 4 tenants lease immediately. Their leasing went up 15% from day one. And they also were able to get, I think, $5 more a square foot on their leasing.
So, Renny, when you drive by that building, you must feel good to know that you kind of, rejuvenated the neighborhood a little bit. The neighbors must be like, like Jen said, thank goodness that someone fixed that building up. You're not looking at something from the 60s. And it's funny when you say something from the 60s. 60s wasn't that long ago, right? It was only 60 years ago, right? It wasn't like some of these buildings around, especially in this part of the world, Boston, New England area. Some of these buildings are 100 years old, right? The building that's 60 years old really isn't really that old, and the fact that you guys can go in and give it a totally new look and not have to tear it down and keep the things there that were important to the client. Is there a particular, on this particular project, is there, I know you wanted to merit, searching, hoping for that Eagle Award, and we talked a bit about it, what's the missing piece here. Being a guest on the podcast definitely helps that. It gives you a couple of bonus.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll hold you to that, Mike.
Yeah, there's 8. Eight winners last year were on the podcast.
There we go.
So yeah, so all right. So this is maybe the bonus points. So now that you've got that project, out of the way here, what is next for Dacon? What are you guys working on now that you can kind of talk about?
So we are primarily an industrial and corporate construction manager. So at the moment, we're getting ready to break ground on a warehouse up in Methuen. We're doing design development on a number of different projects. We primarily focus our efforts on just working with end users and developers and trying to build facilities that they can invest in and also attract high quality tenants.
I've asked just some of the companies that come on before. Jen, is there a particular type of project that you've in your career never worked on that you would love to work on?
Yes, I know that's probably not something that we'll probably ever do, but I would love to do a high-rise building.
I agree with you, Jen.
Yeah,
I think that would just be amazing to do a high-rise building. I didn't even know about designing it would be one thing, but just the mechanics of putting a high-rise together and the coordination of all the systems within a high-rise would be kind of a goal of mine. right? Because I've coordinated and done a lot of high-tech manufacturing from medical to but not a building over 4 stories.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that because the guest from last week, he kind of said the same thing. He's an architect and he said he's never done a high rise before and he would love to put something like that together. It's funny that two separate guests kind of said the same thing. Is there one particular project that you love the most, Jen, of your time at Dacon? I mean, I'm sure, it's kind of like asking who your favorite child is, but there's going to be one project you're the most proud of.
Maybe 2. There was one years ago where we did for Tyco Valves, where we built a steam testing facility with these huge tanks that test high pressure. So everything had to be explosion proof. And so honestly, it sounds weird, but that was really interesting to figure that all out. But similar to 111 Speen in Danbury, Connecticut, Wilton, Connecticut. I'm sorry. We did a conversion of an old office building with a space frame into a modern new medical office building. And to this day, if you look at those 2 buildings and what we did with them, I still think it's hands down the most amazing conversion there ever was.
Same thing, Renny. What about you? Do you have a particular project? I know you've been with Dacon for 6 years, but in your career as a whole, is there one particular project that stands out to you that you love the most?
My entire career. Well, that'll actually bring us back a couple of decades. There was a really cool project that I did when I was with Modern Continental for the Carpenters Union. So they have a training facility in Millbury, and their directive to the architect was to not use steel on the building. So we built for them a phenomenal cast-in-place structure with laminated heavy timber frame, and sandblasted the exterior to expose the aggregate. It was a beautiful facility, and it still stands out to me. And at the time, I think I was probably a 24, 25-year-old APM, and I was given way more responsibility than I probably should have had, and was more or less on site every single day, and spent a lot of time learning about construction. I was there in the trenches with the formwork guys and was out there with the carpenters and was there every step of the way. It was excellent and a really great hands-on learning experience.
And I'm thinking about the carpenters. I'm sure the carpenters would love a building made out of wood instead of a bunch of iron workers running around there flipping iron around. And when they said a building made out of wood, Jen was like, "Oh man, trying to plan that and figure all that out." Right? I'm sure. My goodness. So Dacon sets itself ahead of everybody by being a design build firm. What do you think ultimately sets Dacon ahead of other design build firms?
Oh, I'll take that. I think, well, from what I've seen over the years in the industry. So my husband is a superintendent and he works for another construction company. And for years, we've kind of talked and had this battle about, design build versus traditional. And I think the biggest thing is the ownership that we take as design builders, right? We own a scope of work and we own a performance. We don't own a spec. We don't own, something written on a piece of paper. And I take a lot of pride in that. Since we're performance-based, we owe you a building that works correctly and we will fix it. And if something's wrong with it until it's correct. And I think that kind of level of ownership and the risk that we assume as design build architects is actually allowed me to learn so much more than a lot of my peers in the industry, because I've been from drawing it to building it and to making sure it functions correctly. And I think that's what sets us apart, right? We don't just draw a set of plans, somebody bids it, and then somebody builds it, and it may or may not work, right? We own the whole package.
That's amazing. Renny, same question to you. What sets Dacon apart?
So the fact that Jen and I are here on the phone call together is what sets Dacon apart. We have an in-house architecture firm. So we are truly an integrated design build construction manager. We're the exception in the industry. If you look on any construction manager's website, you're going to see design build as one of their service offerings, one of their delivery methods. But that 99% of the time means that they're hiring an outside architecture firm to do their design, and then they do an attempt at an actual integration during the pre-construction
It's contractual.
process.
It's contractual, Renny. It's just contractual, and that's
Yeah,
it.
it's just contractual. Jen and I are in the same building. She's on the other side of the building. She's probably 50 feet or maybe 100 feet from me.
In the dark.
Yeah, we our communication and coordination and integration process is seamless. The conversations that we have daily about building execution, construction execution is, second to none. We are thinking about the building in a very comprehensive manner from day one, and the design is put together to facilitate construction while also taking into account the program, the client's program, and their aesthetic needs. The other thing that we do a little bit differently than most is we will partner with key MEP subs on, mini design build scopes within our design build scope. So these subs are in turn responsible for a turnkey design package. And they're also responsible for a performance standard. So like Jen just mentioned, they are responsible to make sure that the building performs at the right foot candles, the right temperature range, you name it, depending on the application of the structure, they own it. And we will only enter into those sort of arrangements with subcontractors that we trust 100%, and we know that they understand the responsibility of design build. So that's really what sets Dacon apart. We have a much higher standard for what design build means, both to us and to our clients.
And I imagine that if someone, was wanted to hire Dacon to have everyone in one spot, or have everybody under one umbrella instead of having different people talk. You guys are in the same building, you're in the same space, you're in the same world, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about track. Jen's over here, Rennie's over here, the team's over here. I got to go to different buildings. I can go to one spot and visit with the team. Jen, did you want to say something?
No, it's just that design build, it's funny, like Renny was saying, that other companies will say they're design builders now and they hire an architect, but it's truly is a mindset that we have of years of experience of working together and how to absorb risk and understand performance and how to provide those things without a set of drawings or specs in front of you demanding you to do that, right? It takes a lot of partnerships inside and outside of the building to make that happen.
Right, so if you're listening and you want to build a high rise, the folks at Dacon are ready to go. So reach out to Jen and Renny. They're ready to go. All right. So Jen, if somebody want to get a hold of you, if they have any questions for you, what's the best way to do that?
You can reach me at email. It's JLUONI@Dacon1, the number 1.com.
And Renny, same question for you.
Sure. It's R Schofield, RSCHOFIELD at Dacon at numeral1.com.
Awesome. And then for my favorite part of the podcast is the lightning round. We're going to enter, we put some lightning sound effects in and some lightning bolts coming across the screen. And the first question we're going to ask Jen is, if there was a zombie apocalypse, who are 3 people you would want to fight with on your team?
Ooh, who I'd want to fight with on my team?
Could be anybody. Could be fictional, dead, alive. It doesn't matter. It could be anybody you want.
Oh no. Oh my God. Well, actually, I guess this is going to sound crazy, but my husband, he's ready for the apocalypse. So we're going to go with him. I don't know. Oh my God. This is terrible. I don't know. Thor. I'll take him.
All right.
I like
that's good.
Thor. Yeah.
No one's ever said that before.
No, I like Thor. I mean, I'd just be happy he was there. And then, I don't know, Donald Trump right now.
All right. That's quite the team. Renny, same question for you.
Geez, I'm going to go with a handful of the members of the Avengers. And
there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. That's so a couple of people from the Avengers. Okay.
Sure.
What is your most used emoji, Renny?
I'm going to probably use the laugh out loud face for this one.
Okay. Jen?
Yeah.
The middle finger.
Oh, man. All right. No one's ever said that. That's a great one. Oh, boy. That's your most used emoji? Oh,
yeah.
Man. All right. Jen, if you had to sing karaoke, what song would you pick?
Oh, I love singing Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
All right. And Renny, same question for you.
I just don't do karaoke. This is...
You just wouldn't do it? You refuse to do it? Yeah, you wouldn't refuse to do it.
He refused at our Christmas party, so...
It would probably take a few drinks, quite a few drinks, for me to get up there and start singing. Yeah, I think more drinks, the more confidence I would have. If you could add anyone to Mount Rushmore, who would it be and why, Jen?
Oh God. Who would it be to Mount Rushmore? Oh no. Oh, I don't know. You're gonna boo me for this one.
Oh,
I don't have.
getting booed here. Nothing
I'm getting
to add to
booed.
it.
Boo me.
Renny, what do you
Nothing
got
on
for
that
us,
one.
Renny?
I would like to see Willie Nelson up there. Guy's a
That's a great
national
one.
treasure.
No one's ever thought it's Willie Nelson. All right, Jen, if you had to sail around the world, what would the name of your boat be? Sail around the world, name of your sailboat.
Oh, geez. Not coming home.
Not coming home. Renny, same question for you.
Jeez. Ocean time.
All right. Jen, when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, this is gonna sound lame, but an architect. I did.
All right. All right. Good for you. I like that. Listen, everybody's listening to the podcast knows, and we'll talk about it afterwards, but that's what I wanted to be when I was a little kid.
Yep.
Renny, same question for you.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a builder, and my dad was a builder. It's in the family gene. So there's pictures of me with a shovel in my hand at like age 7 on his sites. Of course, I wasn't working, and I had a hard out. So
you're the supervisor. You were the
yeah,
fly.
exactly.
Jen, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had an English muffin with peanut butter and banana.
All right. Renny, same question.
Protein drink. I have a special coffee and protein drink. It gets me going.
All right. Jen, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, let's see. I think that I would want to fly.
All right.
I
Renny,
think that
same
would
question.
be cool.
Yes, that's a great one.
100% mind reading.
Oh,
Oh,
could be good.
I don't think I'd want that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
It's a torch. It's a benefit and a curse.
Yeah, it's a benefit and a curse. Yeah, that's a good one. And then we'll ask Jen. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep? You could keep 3 apps on your smartphone.
I would keep Candy Crush. I
Okay.
would keep my New York Times crossword. And then I would keep my Kindle.
Okay. Renny, same question.
Well, the iMessage app is definitely for sure.
Okay.
I love Instagram. I love scrolling mindlessly. And I mean, you can't get away without Amazon.
Love it. All right. And then we always ask this question. Jen, there's a food fight at your house tonight.
Yeah.
What is your weapon of choice? And you can't say mashed potatoes or spaghetti.
What would be my weapon of choice,
Weapon of
food-wise,
choice.
if we're fighting? Oh, man. What do we have? I'm trying to think of it. Eggs?
Like scrambled eggs?
No, like regular
Hard boiled,
eggs.
like just regular
Not
eggs?
hard
Oh.
boiled. Jesus.
Yeah, geez. You're chucking just raw eggs at people?
Yeah.
Who's the first victim of your...
My youngest.
Oh, boy. Watch out for that. I'm not...
Yeah.
No food... What a mess. And Renny, same question for you.
Peas in a straw.
Peas, well, like we're doing spitball action with the peas. That's a good one. No one's ever said peas in a straw before. All right. That is our friends Jen and Renny from over at Dacon Corporation. We'll get our fingers crossed they can get that Eagle Award this year. I'm sure they're gonna get there. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.